Hi, this is Magnar, and welcome to Magnar Plays Magnar Mod, where I will play Magnar Mod, the mod that I started just after Rome 2 first came out and have been developing along with a number of other team members, a complete overhaul of the vanilla game focused on historical accuracy and realism. This version of the mod that I'm going to be playing in this Let's Play is a little different to what the current release version is. It has a few new things, a few tweaks here and there, which I'm currently testing out before releasing in the next minor update. So let's get started straight into it. I go to the Magnar Mod campaign here, and as you can see, there's lots of different, additional faction or culture icons available. You got the version of the mod up here as well. We have these extra icons because we incorporate all factions playable mod into this mod, which allows you to play whichever faction that you want, as long as you have the DLC for the specific faction. If there's no DLC unlocking it, then we have unlocked it. For this Let's Play, I'm going to play as Rome and as the Julii, because most of you are probably fairly familiar with the Roman campaign and can therefore compare what we have done so far with your own experiences. I'll be playing on hard, and so let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so I've skipped the starting camera pan and we can get straight into it. And this first objective, to control 2 provinces, I'm not really going to worry about at the start because I want to just focus on killing these Etruscans so I can then decide where I actually want to proceed. I'll probably plan to expand through the different cultures that we've already overhauled, that being in the release mod, that being Carthage, the Iberians and Gaul, as well as of course the Etruscans and the Romans. Our next large update, next major update, will add a lot more overhauled factions. Too many to name, so I won't. One of the first things you'll notice when you play this mod is that the base income is significantly lower than vanilla, and probably than most other mods as well. I think Rome in vanilla starts at around 3,000 per turn as a base income, and as you can see here, we've got only about just a little over 1,200. So anything to do with money and economics, whether it be trade or raiding or what have you, or the effects of the different seasons, is all the more important. It also makes your stacks, your armies, much more valuable. So if you lose one, it's going to be harder for you to replace it. Throughout this Let's Play, I'm going to try to stick to a historically accurate way of fighting with the Romans, which means I will build their legion stacks with equal number of Hastati and Principes and only half as many Triarii. And the levies or velites will take up about 20% of the army. I won't get rid of the levies right at the start, but as I progress, I will try to offload them a little bit to keep it as it generally was. Same when I fight battles, I'll try to stick to the triple axis, that being Hastati in the front, with the Principes behind, and the Triarii in the third line. What I'm going to do first here, I know a lot of people like to rush the Etruscans at Valathri, and because they have a better army and they can just take them out. But I like to give them a fighting chance, let them build up a decent stack so that we can have a nice little battle right at the start. Also, because of the changes in the army stances in this mod and the need for money, I'm going to put my little legions all into the settlements. Because in this mod, for the Romans, I'll just hover over this stance here, you can see when an army is garrisoned, it gets reduced upkeep, among other things. but at the moment I'm just concerned about the upkeep because I need more money. All stances have been changed or expanded, and cultural variants of each have also been put into place. So this these effects for the Romans when garrisoned in a settlement are not the same for when you play as Gaul, or if you play as a Greek faction. It will vary. Same with fortify, ambush, raiding, and as you see here, there is no more forced march. In the current release of the mod, there is forced march, but I'm testing this new version where it's not really the AI probably won't use it so much because it's kind of annoying having every single land battle, open battle you fight against the AI always being an ambush because they're stuck in forced march. So I've removed that, and well, not removed it, but I've transformed it into something which is more of a stance you would use in your own provinces. So for the Romans, it's military training, where you get an increase to replenishment at the cost of increased upkeep. For the barbarian factions, it is feasting. For the Greeks, it is winter quarters. And there's another one for the eastern one as well. And each culture has different effects. So Rome has the increased replenishment. The Greek stance will increase the spread of Greek culture in the region or the province where that army is doing its winter quarters. The barbarian feasting will increase the public order of the region. And the eastern stance currently is just a temporary benefit, which is to increase the land trade in the area, kind of to symbolize that you had the Silk Road coming through there, and lots of trade coming from India and from the east coming through the eastern regions, and so they have that stance to kind of protect those trade routes and to benefit from it. Okay, so let's get straight into playing. I'm going to mostly focus on a little tactic of attacking the enemy where they're not. So first things I do is I send my spy up to Ariminum and to make sure that there's no army there. And if they leave it undefended, then I will go and kill them and take that city. Down here, it starts at negative public order, so I want to boost that public order. So I'll get some consecrated ground. Hopefully arm wrestle some of that culture back from the Punic culture and the Greek culture from Syracuse over to the Latin culture. It's Latin, isn't it? Yeah, Latin. Back to the Latin culture. So it will improve public order there. Because of the reduced income, I really want to focus on getting some trade routes straight away. So historically, Massalia over here was a big trading colony, Hellenistic trading colony, which did most of the trade with Gaul, came through Massalia. So if the game is anything like history, they should be pretty open to trading with me. So let's go try it out. The double time, the naval force march, still exists, but it only adds a 10% campaign movement. If the AI gets stuck in this stance a lot as well, then I'll probably have to do a similar thing to that I did with the land forced march. But I need to test that out a bit more before I make a decision on that. Okay, so I can't get there just yet, but next turn I think I can. And now here, because I want to have a proper proportioned army, I'm going to get some Principes and a Triari, and then start moving up to Ariminum if they keep it unguarded. And my faction leader, Julius Libo, let's get him a promotion so I don't have to pay so much upkeep. And lastly, before we end the turn, I'm going to do some research for supply reforms. With the Roman overhaul, we've added unit caps to all the Roman units to reflect the proportions that they were in a typical Roman army. Typically when Rome went to war, only about 50% of their army was actually Roman citizen units, that being, your velites or your principes, hastati, triari, equites. Only about 50% were actually Roman citizen units, citizens. The other 50% came from the Italian allies, the socii, or whatever you want to call them, plus mercenaries or auxilia. So I'm going to try to do exactly the same thing with these armies that I raise, and as soon as I can get socii, I'll be putting about half the army into that. So that's why I'm going to go for the supply reforms first, because I get that auxiliary camp, and that's where I can recruit the socii in Italy. Now I think that's about everything, so I'll end the turn. Another aspect of the mod which is significantly different and more dynamic than pretty much any other mod that's done that's overhauled this feature, and also much more than vanilla, is what we've done with the seasons. Seasons in this mod take into account 5 different factors when determining how they affect any given province. I'll show you what I mean now. So you can see here the description for this summer in this province of, I think it's called Latium. It's the central Italian province. It's a warm summer in the hilly Mediterranean climate. So here you can see that we've actually put in 5 factors, which are, we can only see 4 of them there. Obviously you've got the season, so summer, winter, autumn, spring, they're all going to do different things. But then we've also added climate. So you have a Mediterranean climate, which I think is pretty obvious where that is. Then we have the oceanic climate, which is like north of Spain, Iberia, sorry, Gaul, Britain, and like that coast up there. Then we have the continental climate, which is like Germania area. We also have a desert climate and an arid climate to differentiate between the different types of deserty, really warm areas. And we also have an Arctic climate, which is mostly in the Alps. You really don't want to be stuck there during winter. I think that's all our climates. And then we have also terrain. So central Italy is relatively hilly, so that's why it's got the hilly Mediterranean climate. If we go down to the south and we check that out, we can see that it is a cleared Mediterranean climate, so it's a bit flatter than the central part. So they get the benefits for having that flatter land will be factored into those seasonal effects. And then each summer has 2 aspects to it. It's got 2 factors. It's got whether the moisture of the season, and it's got the temperature of the season. So we have, for this province, currently a warm, dry summer, but for Rome we have just a warm summer. So the moisture is a normal level, but the heat's a bit warmer, whereas here the moisture is drier and the temperature is also warmer. When I get to winter, I'll show you how significantly the winter seasons actually affect gameplay, and why you'll actually want to give some consideration to them before launching a campaign in winter. Okay, so for this turn I'm going to just jump up to the border, do one last recruit before I attack Ariminum, and then go kill some Etruscans next turn. So, and we'll also recruit. Need 2 more Principes to balance that out. Okay. And of course, gotta go say hello to the Massalians. Massalia will be one of the factions which we will overhaul with the next update, as with all the other Greek factions, Syracuse and Sparta, Epirus, Athens, and a couple of other surprises in there which will be released a little bit later. Okay, let's get some trade. See if they want to trade with us. Massalia.
Enter, friend, and speak. Your proposal has merit.
Excellent. Now maybe I can get something with Athens as well. Let's see what they want to do.
Greetings. We are civilized folk. So
Nope,
you may
no luck
speak
there.
as you wish, and we will give you an honest answer. Yesterday.
And no luck there. I know there are some little cheats you can do with diplomacy where if you offer a trade agreement one time and they reject it, you can sometimes just offer it again straight away and they will accept it. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. If they don't accept it the first time, then I'm not going to really pursue it further. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this ship, this navy, I'm going to bring it to Eulalia and stop them from reinforcing the mainland Italy, so I can take that relatively unopposed. That's about all we can do for this turn, so I'm going to go ahead and end the turn again. And then take Ariminum with any luck. And it'll have to be next turn because next turn's autumn and I don't want to attack in winter. Okay, let's go straight there. Completely undefended, so... Yeah, this one's not actually worth fighting, I don't think, so I'm going to just automate this, and the battle that I actually fight will be the one with the stack over at Valathri. Hopefully I can get them both together and have a nice big battle there. So let's automate this. No surprises there. And... there have been some changes here to the effects of different occupational options, but they're not really... They'll probably be revisited and worked on a bit more before the next release. So I'm not really going to explain the decisions behind that just yet. So I'm going to occupy that. Don't really want to be dealing with unhappy people at the moment. And then I'll send the spy over to Valathri and make sure that their army isn't getting up to any funny business over there. Okay. Included in this mod is also the Talents, Traits and Toadies mod by Hellbent and now Dresden. So there's expanded options for the skills you pick and the traits and also household stuff. And with each general skill, experience level, you get 2 choices with skills. So for this one I'm going to take Skill Tactician because I really like Second Wind, especially with our Overhaul of Fatigue. It comes in handy. And also... I'm going to go for the... I don't know. Really don't know. Now experience is a lot harder to get in this mod, so maybe the camp administrator might be nice to have. But I think I will get the logistician. See what bonuses I can get from that. And of course I'll recruit that last unit I want to give me the right proportion of Astarte Principes and Triari. I'll get 1 more Triari, and that'll be my army until I can get some Sokia. Okay, let's grab the navy. Come say hello to the Etruscans at Eulalia. Make sure they're not trying to help out their fellows. Okay, so there's your autumn seasonal effects for a normal autumn. You can see that the upkeep costs are reduced, and also agricultural income is increased, and the mercenary replenishment is decreased. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we wait for the next turn. So the idea behind having reduced maintenance during autumn is because you have the harvest for most, the big harvest season, and therefore food is probably much cheaper, or is cheaper than other months, and that means you can feed your army for less. But of course, food only accounts for a small part of maintaining an army, so it's only a small reduction to military maintenance. The mercenaries replenishment is reduced because there's other opportunities for people in autumn. Because of the harvests, they can find jobs in other areas, whether it be harvesting the crops or all the associated jobs that arise because of that. And also there's probably less chance of lacking food or needing to go out and or running out of food, if you will. So there's not as much incentive to become a mercenary. In winter, on the other hand, if we look here at the effects, there's a lot of red effects there, because they're gonna it's not going to be very nice getting caught anywhere in winter. But the opposite is the case. Mercenary replenishment in winter is actually increased. That's because in winter, if you run out of food, then you haven't really got many other options. You kind of have to find a way to make money. So there's greater incentive there, and less other opportunities besides becoming a mercenary and fighting. So that's why that has been increased. You can see a lot of reduction to agricultural wealth and livestock, and campaign movement. The campaign movement is in this kind of a climate during winter isn't so significant, but if we get to the Arctic climates, you'll see that campaign movement is much more significantly reduced. Also, winter does cause attrition, but it's not attrition as you might think of it. So this army of the Etruscans here, which I get an objective to kill, which I will gladly do, they're not actually suffering attrition. And the reason is because the attrition in this mod for winter is only when you're in a different province to where you have regions. So if you were to go into, if that unit was to go into a province where it doesn't have regions, like in the north here, Cisalpine, whatever, if they was to go in there and spend winter there, then it probably would suffer attrition. But because it is in this province and it kind of has a presence here, it's not really affected by attrition because it's relatively close to home still. And so it's not so bad. So that's why if you're playing and you're wondering, hey, it says there's attrition, but I'm in someone else's territory, or they're in my territory and I'm not suffering any attrition, what's going on? Well, that's because they have a presence in that province, so they can kind of do what they want there. So now let's get to, you can also see that construction costs are actually increased in winter. That's that kind of reflects the cost of transport materials to wherever you're going to build it. In winter it's harsher conditions, movement slower, so it's going to take you longer to get the same number of materials. It's going to cost more. Not much more, but just a little bit. Okay, so let's move this army down to get ready to kick them out of Roman land, and yeah, I don't like them raiding. Raiding also costs food, so you really don't want to let too many armies be raiding in your regions. So you can see, normally I would have 6 food, but I only have 2 now. Also, recruitment requires food, and that's well, not for all cultures, but for Roman. If I want to recruit units, then I'm going to need, I'll just show you an example. I'm not actually going to recruit anything, but you see how it's got 2 there? Oh, now it's -3. It costs 5 food, and that's to symbolize preparing the baggage trains and getting the starting supplies for a campaign for that unit. So that's why there's a food cost there. So you don't want to have too many units, too many legions when you're playing as Rome, recruiting all at once. You kind of you can stagger that over a little bit longer period of time when you have that in mind. Okay, so let's go. Last thing to do is get the Navy. Okay, they got a guy there now, but he's not really going to cause much threat. I'm going to put it into normal stance because I don't want to, just in case they feel like attacking and getting some mercenaries. And I'm going to put them at the north because I expect if they're going to reinforce Velathri, they're going to go up that way. And why not recruit one more unit? You'll notice that also that the sea provinces are not affected by the seasons. And that's because they can't be. So that kind of that gives them a bonus to movement, even though the normal movement isn't really much different to a land unit in this, because it'll be a bit because of the turn-based style of gameplay. You can't really have realistic ship movements, otherwise you couldn't have blockades and you couldn't do all this kind of stuff. So we kind of have to restrict that amount of movement. But the real benefit is, with your land units, you're going to have 1 month every year, generally, where you're going to be restricted in your movement and slow you down, whereas on a ship, A, you can get that extra 10% for double time, and also you are unimpeded by the seasons. Okay, I got 1400 there, but I don't really want to do anything with that. I'll save it up so I can expand this to the next level, next turn. Oh yeah. The spy actually succeeded, which was nice. I was going to put this agent, this spy, into the army and help the army move around, but looking at those those base bonuses the spy gets, it's not really an embedded spy or scout type unit agent. So I'll stick to the typical spying line and kind of build up her ability to attack and be an offensive spy. And no, I don't mean to say rude things. Sorry, bad joke. I really would like that army there to go back to Velathri. I don't want to fight it separately because that'll be kind of too easy. I don't think I got a choice though, unfortunately. Okay, let's check out if we can build this next level. Nope. I should have pointed out originally that I'm actually playing on 4 turn per year, so that we get the full range of seasons, and the characters and the generals actually live a nice life rather than dying just after they're born and not really being able to do much. In with that system is also an increased cost to buildings. So buildings are increased in cost by about double, and their time is also doubled, and technology is tripled. Because I would have liked to have it at quadrupled, but I think people don't want to have to wait 8 turns for their very first tech level, so I kind of made it only triple instead. Okay, so let's go kick them out of Rome. And surprise, surprise, they ran away.
My skills are yours.
So I can't attack them this turn, but next turn for sure they're gone. And I'll save my cash up. I don't really want to... I want to be able to build that temple next turn, so I don't want to waste it on killing some guys, which are going to be pretty easy to kill anyway. Yeah, so some of the factions, which other factions will be overhauling for the next major release. The ones that are already done, the Germans, all the Germanic tribes, with a number of factional specific units. So the Cimbri roster will be different to the Suebi roster, which will be different to the what are the other ones up there? The Gutones, etc. So there'll be some differences between the different Germanic tribes with units, and also we're currently putting together. We're going to looking at turning the Marcomanni, who are actually a Suebic tribe. So it's a bit weird having the Suebi and the Marcomanni as separate factions, even though they were kind of the Suebi confederation, if you will. It was essentially just an alliance, a confederation of different tribes. So yeah, it's weird having that confederation represented in one region by one faction, and then having a part of it, which an ally of theirs, which is a part of that group of people in the Marcomanni, having their own separate factions. So we're actually looking at putting together a unique roster for that faction and turning them into the Chatti. Some of you may be familiar with the Chatti, where they had a tradition where you weren't allowed, if you were, you're a warrior, you're not allowed to shave your beard, and you're not allowed to pull your hair back until you've had your first kill in battle. So that kind of thing will be represented, I'm pretty sure, in that roster that we do for them. So that roster is finished, but it won't be released until then. We're going to save all these factions up for one huge release. Another one is the Parthians, which I've just actually finished today. Plus a whole bunch more which we're currently working on and have been working on for a long time. Okay, so now we can build this what is it, Sacred Grove, and that should be able to almost alleviate the public order issues down there. Let's see if this guy can get... Oh, you get some public order, that's alright. And now we can go prepare our attack on Velathri. Before I attack though, I'll just point out here also another feature of this mod is the reinforcement range and the zone of control of both armies and cities. The zone of control is that red circle you see around. In vanilla, that red circle which goes to here would actually probably be around here and take up half the region. So it's been reduced. The reinforcement range is usually about the same size of the zone of control. And same thing for armies, so they've also been reduced as well. That allows a bit more maneuvering with the units that you have, the legions that you have. Are they plagued? They might be plagued. Doesn't say anything. Okay, anyway. So, unfortunately, I can't get a battle with these two guys, these two together. So I'm going to just, I'm going to fight it anyway, because we can't just go auto-resolving everything. But I'm going to save this battle for the next episode. So, thanks for watching. I hope you liked what you saw with the mod, and look forward to seeing it in the next episode.